area, you definitely should go. This space is so beautiful. And those of you who are not in the area, take advantage of all these webinars. And it's such an amazing, it's so amazing everything you've put together, Felicia. So thank you so much for having me. I'm going to share my screen now. And I'd say about half of you on the call know me, or at least know a lot about certified B Corps, but some of you don't. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to talk for a while and spend some time introducing certified B Corps. For some of you, it may be a little too detailed, but for those of you who aren't familiar, a lot of it I'm going to be going through very quickly. So feel free to reach out to me at any time after this presentation, because this is probably about half the level of detail that I would typically go into with someone who is not familiar with certified B Corps. My company, Impact Growth Partners, is based in Westport, Connecticut, and our primary role is to help companies through the B Corp certification process. We work with companies of all sizes across the world, though I do have a focus on Connecticut because I grew up here, I grew up in Woodbridge, and now I live here, and the Connecticut B Corp movement has been pretty slow to grow. So I'm really excited to bring a lot more certified B Corps to Connecticut. Move on here. So what I'm going to introduce B Corps and the B Corp movement, talk a little bit about why companies choose to become certified, a brief overview of the certification process, and then dig in for a few minutes on the concept of B Corp certification and resilience. Are certified B Corps really more resilient than other companies? So this video actually does not work, so I'm going to skip it, but if you want to watch it, it's a short inspirational video really talking about what is, it's more visual, but it's about what is driving the B Corp movement. And most of you know that as capitalism has become more, say, destructive, that people have been looking to support businesses that are having a positive impact, and the proliferation of labels emerged, like whether it's environmental, like LEED certified, or fair trade, or across the board, a number of certifications. You can look at any product, they may have that identifies a specific aspect of their business that's doing well. But what certified B Corps do is they're one standardized certification across the whole business. So it's really kind of like USDA organic saying, this apple is organic. A B Corp certification is saying, this company is operating in a way that takes into consideration all of its stakeholders and not just shareholders. So they are all for-profit companies, all looking to be financially successful, and they can be of any size, location, and in any industry. There's a nonprofit called B Lab that puts together the system of measuring these companies, as well as the information about what companies are certified. So in order to become certified, you have to meet very rigorous standards of social and environmental performance across all of these areas that I list here. Your employees, how involved you are in the community, what your governance is like, how you treat the environment, who your customers are and how you treat them. And there's a lot of emphasis on suppliers as well. This is the current B Corp landscape. Right now, there's only 3,200 certified B Corps worldwide. That's in 71 countries, 150 industries. That is not that many. It's pretty small. In my world, I think there's a ton because, I shop at Whole Foods and see lots of B Corp certified products. I am part of this B Corp world, so I'm constantly interacting with other certified B Corps. But it's really small, and which gives it a lot of room to grow. I would say Corona, it kind of hit an inflection point of growth, and B Lab, the nonprofit that manages, have been working to accelerate the number of companies they could get through their process. That's slowed down a little bit, but there's still a lot of interest in certification. So growth will continue. I'm confident of that. What these charts show, which you may not be able to see very well, is that it's across all industries. Food and beverage is most dominant. But really, you have B2B companies, service companies, manufacturers, really every industry is certified. And then the bottom chart shows that over half of certified B Corps earn over 1 million in revenue a year. So of this 3,200, half of them are very, very small and growing. But in recent years, more and more large conglomerates and large companies have been brought into the B Corp fold. Here's a snapshot of some of the brands you may recognize. If coming into this you weren't familiar with what a certified B Corp is, some of these brands now, when you see them, when you go and buy your 7th generation packaging, paper towels, you may notice the logo. Patagonia is one of the leaders. And to leave you with a little bit more inspiration is the quote from the founder of Patagonia. I hope that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, we'll look back and say, B corporations were the start of a revolution. The existing paradigm isn't working anymore. This is the future. So why do companies become certified B Corps? There are many, many reasons. This list isn't even exhaustive in itself, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on all of these reasons today because we're limited on time. Many of you know them. What I'm really going to focus on is being part of a global and local community as one of the reasons to become certified. But just to go over them quickly, generate press and awareness. As is probably obvious when you have this logo, then you differentiate yourself for consumers. You also differentiate yourself for employees. You can attract and engage talent. Everyone, especially the younger generation, wants to work for companies that are doing well in addition to doing good, or doing good in addition to doing well. This label gives you credibility and trust, including among investors who know that you've gone through the process of being certified. So it's looked at as a signal that you have been able to make it through this process and have put in place all of these standards that are required. You're also able to benchmark and improve your performance using the B Corp certification tool, which I'll go through in a little bit more detail. And you also protect your company's mission for the long term by changing your legal status. And then most importantly, you're part of this movement that, I don't feel like I spent quite enough time building up today, but that's really one of the reasons why many companies choose to join this community, is to really be part of this movement that's growing and is the way of the future. So I did want to spend a little bit more time on being part of a community. So that's really important, especially in the context of resilience. So as I said, I mentioned how many B Corps there are, and all of these companies really have one unifying goal, which is to redefine success in business. And they're working together on it. There are many ways in which B Corps can collaborate. There's an online platform called BIA that gives B Corps access to each other. Even to the public is bcorporation.net. They have Find a B Corp page where, so I, for example, as a small business, if I need someone to say, work on my web page, the first thing I'll do is look at bcorporation.net and see what web developers are certified, or what lawyers, or so any other service that I might want. I would first and foremost want to work with a certified B Corp. So there's ways to connect virtually. These used to be in person, now they're virtual. There's an annual retreat for all B Corp certified companies, local leadership development programs, some local events. I was just on a call for all B Corp women CEOs that is typically hosted by Eileen Fisher, but it was virtual, of course. And there's also action groups that get together and lead certain initiatives on the public policy front and on the business front. And there's a deep network of B Corp women CEOs, including a Google group. And then there's what is on the right here, it's all the B locals. This is relatively new, probably the last couple of years B Lab has encouraged this to be set up. They're in these communities, they are very active. So it's a group of certified B Corps who get together and manage the B local, and put together events, community events, pop-up shops, educational events, just to bring the B Corp community together, as well as bring more visibility to B Corps in that local community. Speaking of local community, this is the Connecticut B Corp community. Yes, it's small. You may be surprised that there's only 8 certified B Corps in Connecticut. And actually, when I started this, there were only 3. There had been only 3 for a number of years. And then when I started this, Bigelow Tea became certified. They had started the process before we had even reached out to them. We're thrilled to have them as a B Corp because they're the largest certified B Corp in Connecticut. So we have now moved to to 8 and actually publish a purpose press on here. They were just certified 2 days ago, and there are 2 more that are going through the verification process right now. So within a couple of months, the verification process takes a while. We should have up to 10, and I hope to see that continue to grow so we can build this community in Connecticut. So a few minutes on how to become certified. There's this tool, there's a website called the B Impact Assessment. It's completely free to anyone who's interested in taking the assessment. You log on and there is a questionnaire that's tailored to your company's industry, location, and size. The impact assessment is designed to accommodate any industry, location, and company size with up to around 1,300 questions. So around 200 are selected for your business based on those criteria. And the questions are incredibly detailed. They're not just yes or no questions. They look at every aspect of your business. You don't get negative points. It's not yes or no. It's really a detailed scale of how much you do something, how involved your company is in every aspect in terms of having a positive impact. This is an example this is a screenshot of the B Impact Assessment site, the governance section. You see in the governance section, ethics and transparency is one section. Within the governance section, they talk about governance structures, internal good governance, your governing body characteristics, like do you have a board of directors? This question that's open here is what practices does your company have in place to promote ethical decision-making to prevent corruption? And I'm sure the choices are something like nothing to, we have a code of ethics that we rewrite and reinforce frequently and also provide to all of our suppliers. So there's very varying levels of detail that you can get, and you get a certain number of points depending on how you answer. And if you get over 80 points out of for a potential of around 200, you can submit to be certified. And the verification process is even more rigorous than going through the questionnaire, because what you have to do for every question that you answered affirmatively to and generated points, you have to provide some documentation for. So you can't just say, yes, we provide, yes, we have this code of ethics. You have to provide them with their code of ethics. And if you've said that you review it every year with your board of directors, you have to provide the minutes from your board of directors meeting to prove that. So you can't just say, yes, we track our water usage and yes, we recycle. You actually have to show images and receipts and things like that to show what you're tracking and what you're doing. So it's very, very detailed. Once you do make it through that process, you have to change your legal status, which I'll go through in a minute, or you can do that prior to the process. And you pay an annual fee based on your revenues. So while taking the assessment and going through the process is free, once you're certified, there's an annual fee to be part of this community. It starts at $1,000 a year for businesses with under $150,000 in revenue, and it goes up very gradually from there. And then every 3 years, you have to be recertified. And B-Lab issues a new version of the assessment every 2 years, and every assessment gets harder. So if you got an 82 and became certified, the next time you go to recertified, if your operations are exactly the same, you're not going to hit that 80-point threshold. They want every company to continue to improve. The legal requirement. So it's a little confusing. The language B Corporation makes it sound like you have to actually be a corporation. That's not the case. Any type of corporate form can become certified, an LLC, a co-op. And what those types of businesses have to do is just change their operating documents, their articles of incorporation, with some specific legal language that reflects that they will take all stakeholders into consideration and seek to achieve a benefit beyond benefiting shareholders. If you're already a corporation, you do have to eventually, you don't have to do it prior to becoming a certified B Corp, but within 2 years, you have to become what's called a benefit corporation. And Delaware has pretty robust public benefit corporation law, and not all states, I think it's about 37 or 38 states now, allow companies to incorporate as benefit corporations. And again, it's the same reason, to say that you can legally take into consideration all stakeholders. And this aspect is really important. There would be many, many more certified B Corps if it weren't for this, because it is a legal change. It doesn't impact your tax status or any valuation or anything like that, but it is a legal change. And it does ensure that that your investors are aligned with your goals. And it also ensures that you can make decisions regarding investments and takeovers and things like that that take into consideration all of your stakeholders. So once you're certified, you get this score. This is a snapshot from bcorporation.net. You can look for any company that's certified and you can see what their overall score is. I like to call it as a GOTS for impact, because it shows where you are, where your company does well, where your point breakdown is. You can actually expand each of these areas and it gives a little bit more detail. So you can see that this Green Mountain Power, which is a power company, they treat their workers really well. They're getting 32 points in the worker section. That means that they have amazing benefits. They may have specific programs for employing underserved communities or workers that have trouble getting jobs otherwise. And they also obviously have a strong impact on the environment. They do a little less in their community, whereas some companies may become certified because they are giving more than 5% of their revenue a year to a nonprofit, and that will give them a lot of points in community. So companies can be certified for a variety of different reasons. Some are really strong in one or two areas and weaker in others. Some are even across the board. But if you think you have what it takes to become certified and strength in some or all of these areas and are interested, I'd love to fill you in with more details. So that's the end of my really quick overview of B Corp certification. And before we jump into questions, I did want to spend a few minutes on what we came here for today. So talk about, are certified B Corps really more resilient? What a better time to test the resilience of certified B Corps than COVID. I would say you couldn't say definitively because you're a certified B Corp, you're going to be more resilient than the next company. B Corp certification is not a guarantee of success. It's not a guarantee of investor interest. It's not a guarantee of market interest. But it does have some advantages. So there is some data that shows from 2013, it was found that certified B Corps have demonstrated an annual survival rate of 90 to 99% compared to the 69% average among small businesses in the United States. So the market was good there. This isn't about being resilient in a bad market, but it just, startups are tricky. There's low survival rates among startups in general. So I'm not sure what the exact threshold was here, but it did show that companies that were certified, had gone through this process, did actually fare better. And then Ryan Honeyman, the author of the B Corp Handbook, which if you haven't read it, you should, did some research and proved that in 2008, B Corps were 63% more likely to survive that recession. So there is evidence that yes, certified B Corps are more resilient. So if that's the case, why is that? I break it down into three areas. First, it's part of the fundamental values of a company that's going to go through this process. Whether or not they actually become certified or even go through this process, certain fundamental values will make them more resilient. Then actually going through the process itself, and finally being certified. How does that add to resilience? So in terms of fundamental values, companies that seek B Corp certification are not companies that are looking to have the cheapest suppliers and make a quick buck and pay it all to the CEO and hope for the best. Companies that seek B Corp certification already have a long-term view that takes into consideration a variety of stakeholders, and the stakeholder success equals the business success. And also, if you haven't seen Lorna Davis's TED Talks, Lorna Davis was the CEO of Danone and now is a B Lab ambassador. She has these amazing talks about hero leadership versus interdependency and how important interdependent leadership is now. Companies that are willing to go through this process are also willing to make compromises and sacrifices if necessary. They understand the value of interdependency rather than being a hero. So through the certification process, what are the types of things that actually make you more resilient? Going through this process embeds all those values we talked about before in your operations and strengthens your independence. So an example is your supplier relationships. B Corp certification requires that you, not requires, but that gives you points and values your relationship with your suppliers and ensuring that your suppliers are diverse, your suppliers are local, your suppliers sign a code of ethics, your suppliers uphold all laws, and even better, your suppliers have their own social and environmental mission. But regardless of who your supplier does, it forces you to really think about, okay, yes, I proactively, rather than just like, I'm going to buy the next widget that I see, who is making the widget in the best possible way and running that company in a strong way. And then you develop that relationship. So if something is going wrong in that widget factory, you're probably likely to know, and they're probably likely to tell you with integrity and being and upfront, and you're just likely to have more information. B Corp certification rewards having strong governance. So many small businesses don't take the time to put in place an advisory board or board of directors. But if you do that, then when times are hard, you have all of these other people in your wheelhouse who you can reach out to, who may have other perspectives, who are going to be there for you. So putting those in place builds resilience. You deepen relationships with the local community. You deepen your engagement with your employees and how they like to work and things they like to do in terms of working with nonprofits, or there are a variety of ways that a B Corp certification encourages you to engage with your employees. And of course, their financial health. Certified B Corps are more likely to already offered some paid time off. They're already more likely to pay a living wage. And provide benefits. These things put your employees in better financial health. So when things go south, they're in a better position to be able to withstand it. And very importantly, as I mentioned before, on the legal front, when you put this legal language in place, that means any outside investors you take are going to be aligned with you. So they're not going to jump ship or force you to take the shortcut to make sure you cut to the bone to benefit the owners and the shareholders. They're going to be in this with you for the long term and be more resilient. Finally, once you're certified, you get all the benefits of awareness and community that I didn't spend much time on, but all the benefits that you get in good markets. Plus what I've seen specific to COVID-19 is B Lab has really stepped in. They've almost become like a big picture investor in these companies, which are not, but they've made it their job to provide resources to all of the certified B Corps. There are regular webinars on how to get through this time. They've offered specific office hours. They've identified banks, some B Corp banks, some not B Corp banks, but that can provide PPP loans. They were available for questioning during all that time. In the time when we didn't have enough PPE, they had a dashboard so companies that had access to it could provide it to other certified B Corps. Many B Corps are providing free and discounted resources. Many are pivoting, and being certified and part of this community helps you be able to access that market to get the word out about your new products if you have them. So together, in conclusion, there's a lot of information I've provided here. Some of it I'm sure is debate, but from what I've seen, this is evidence I've seen that being certified can really help you be more resilient during tough times. And as we see that these tough times are going to take a while to get out of, these B Corps are really positioned to work together to, when we get back to normal, really to get back to better. That's all I have. I'd love to open it up to questions. I'm going to stop share so I can take a look at your questions, as I see some have popped in, and feel free to ask more. Yes, in Greenwich, it's only Armonia. And if any of you know the guy who runs Armonia, I'd love to be in touch with them. They're, as I build this community, I don't know Larry Lund at all. And then Zoe asked, yes, Zoe, they actually doubled their fees at the lowest end last summer. So the lowest fee now is $1,000 a year. It's not doubled at every level. It's only doubled at the lowest levels. So then it goes up from 1,000 to 1,100, and it increases in small increments. So Christine, why are there so few in Connecticut? That's a great question. A lot of it is just awareness. You would think we have so many because we have our community You know, we have tons of nonprofits, but just to look at it from a personal perspective, I was a banker, and when I was in finance, my view is, oh yeah, business is about the bottom line, and it's philanthropy that helps people. Philanthropy and government help people. It really wasn't until I left that industry and, you know, capitalism started overreaching even more, but I realized that that was really the wrong way to look at it. I feel like Connecticut, in a way, while you would think we have the right mentality here, is so bifurcated in terms of, you know, profit-driven financial and the profit-driven financial industry and strong philanthropy, that there hasn't been this awareness of the role businesses really should be taking. Are there any ways to incorporate B Corp principles without the B Corp process? Absolutely. Well, you can take the assessment and actually, so there's 3,200 certified B Corps, but tens of thousands, I think it's around 60,000 companies now have taken the B Impact Assessment. So you can log on and use that assessment to identify ways to strengthen your operations and instill that mission within your operation. And I'm happy to talk to you about that in more detail. So no, B-Lab is not recognized by the government. It is not tax efficient. There's no tax advantages to being B Corp certified. Some of the financial advantages now, though, are it's becoming more recognized as a supplier certification. So just like being a women-owned business may get your preference with certain suppliers, or specifically in Connecticut or under sustainable CT, you can get points for using a certified B Corp, just as you would, you know, a company that has another certification like LEED. There have been a couple of tests here and there of tax incentives, like Philadelphia had a B Corp tax credit. One place it is recognized is some of the business schools give tuition reimbursements for students who go and work for certified B Corps. So there are pockets of very targeted financial benefits, but not from a tax perspective yet. Can you recommend resources for small companies to set up some of these things? That's what we do. We're happy to talk. Yeah. Zoe, let's get back in touch. I have heard that you are pursuing your certification, so we'd love to help you with some of the templates and stuff like that. Great. Well, it's 12:30.